Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Happy Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Sierra, and today I'm joined by my good friend, a cosmetic dentist out of Beverly Hills, California, Dr. Matt Nejad. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have you. So for those that don't know, Dr. Nejad is an expert biomimetic and aesthetic dentist practicing in Beverly Hills, California. He is a fellow of the Academy of Biomimetic Dentistry, the highest level of accreditation possible, and serves as a scientific advisor to mentor and train other dentists. He provides education and training in biomimetic dentistry through the Nejad Institute for Biomimetic Dentistry. And today, Dr. Nejad is considered one of the top opinion leaders in the dental industry. He's committed to research and scientific development of adhesive and biomimetic dentistry and consults with top companies to help them develop innovative dental materials and new products. I think I could go on and on about your bio, but that would take up half the show. You're someone who's accomplished a lot in your career, and we're going to talk during the course of this interview about many topics that are broader and have to do with the industry at large. But what I want to start out with is talking about you personally, because a lot of times it's cool to hear somebody else's experience as a practitioner. How did you become a dentist?
How I became a dentist. From a young age, I was always interested in science. I was between medical and dental, and I looked at both options pretty significantly. And the prerequisites are the same, the requirements are the same. So pretty much made my decision last second. But I was originally thinking dentistry through high school. I even did an internship for my dentist, or basically shadowed and worked for about a week there. But last second in college, I decided I'm going to start studying for the MCATs, and I started studying, and then I just remembered what attracted me to dentistry was owning your own business, being your own boss, not having to work crazy hours and not dealing with life and death, and also the artistic side of things. So it reminded me why I wanted to stick with dentistry, so I went right back to it, and I didn't end up taking the MCATs, but went with dentistry, and everything was what I expected. I'm really happy with that decision.
What was your experience like? So where'd you go to dental school at?
I went to dental school at USC, so it's called the Herman Ostrow School of Dentistry now, okay. And I went for undergrad at UCLA.
Awesome. Yeah. Did you go straight to private practice?
I did go straight into private practice. So I learned a special type of dentistry in dental school, which has become more common now. So go back to 2008 in the second and third year of my dental school. And I was learning biomimetic dentistry, which you mentioned. And biomimetic dentistry, it's something that's grown in popularity, but back then it wasn't that popular. It was advanced adhesive dentistry with the idea of mimicking natural teeth. And what happened basically is I fell in love with that type of dentistry. I knew I wanted to practice that way, which by the way was so opposite of what I planned. I planned to own multiple practices and be just kind of like a business owner, high volume practice, but I fell in love with the detail, the quality, and the precision of biomimetic dentistry. And so I had to open my own practice because I couldn't find the right opportunity. There was nobody that was hiring to practice this way. And if you go work for a corporate job, you end up forgetting all your skills. So I had great training. I knew I wanted to put it into use. So I opened my first practice right out of school. And looking back, that was one of the best things I did.
So you opened your practice right out of school, and I love what you said about how you fell in love with the precision more than you fell in love with the volume. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's wrong either way. I think different people are drawn to different things. How has that love for precision and that love for detail shown up in your practice and in the way that you run your business?
Oh, all the way through. So when you practice the way I do, little details matter a lot: consistency, reproducibility, quality, and little decisions make a big difference. So I'm all about having processes and streamlining things, whether it's training, how we talk to patients, how we present treatment plans. I'm always working on it, and it's always a work in progress, but that's kind of the essence of one of the things that I really believe in, which is the Kaizen approach, which talks about, continuous improvement, small changes make a big impact. There's, all these different parts of this philosophy that go at the heart of it's never good enough, but if you keep working at achieving perfection, you will reach excellence.
You'll reach excellence, and I love that. I think it's definitely something you've done. I mean, you're in a very competitive area in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a very high-end area, too, where you're working with executives. I imagine you're working with celebrities. You can either confirm nor deny.
Yeah, I can confirm.
As somebody who works with that kind of clientele, what's the kind of experience that they expect when they go to see a healthcare professional?
They don't want to be waiting. It really is a personalized experience where you want to see somebody. I mean, sometimes we're running 10 or 15 minutes behind, but we see one patient at a time. They like that. I'm not jumping around room to room. I'm trying to commit my full attention to that patient to deliver the quality. I'm trying to spend the time to explain things on something as simple as a consultation or a comprehensive exam where very little, dentistry is done. It's just talking and reviewing. I have constantly patients telling me this was so thorough and complimenting our approach. And I think it's just refreshing for those types of patients to see that someone actually cares and they're not just a number and that you're actually focused on their well-being.
What are your thoughts on building long-term relationships with your patients? Because it sounds like your network of patients are very loyal to you, and then many times, I think you've mentioned they come from other countries.
Yeah,
to come visit you.
I get out of state, out of country. So long term is so important. I mean, like in the short run, there's all sorts of marketing strategies to get people in. But like there's this concept that I really believe in called the blue ocean strategy. Have you heard of that? So I'll summarize it, but it's a book, and it's about when you are doing business or when you're trying to be an innovator, you want to be out in the blue ocean. Blue ocean is the part of the ocean where it's like untapped, it's different. Think Apple, think Weave, companies that do things differently instead of competing with the red ocean areas where everyone's fighting on price or little differences, but you're not innovating. You want to go somewhere and just do your own thing and build your own market so that those other people are not even a factor in your decision making or how you run your business. And so I started my first office. I focused on my quality. I figured for long-term relationships, what's important is that people value this type of stuff. I might charge 2, 3, 4 times more than other people in the area. I give a quality that I think demands that or deserves that. But my patients aren't price sensitive on that. They come because they've been referred or because they've seen or because they've had bad experiences. And when they come to me, it's about the quality that I'm providing, and they know that. And it's really good. And so long-term relationships are part of that, because I would say probably about 50% of my business is coming from other specialists, whether they're physicians, plastic surgeons, specialists in dentistry. They refer people. So I've built a brand and a reputation by putting in the hard work and commitment and them seeing the patients and the results and all that stuff. So it's all about that. In the short run, you can do things like marketing, putting the word out, talking about those concepts. But when somebody comes to you and you're doing this type of dentistry that's so different from the guy down the street, it takes a while to prove that what you're doing actually has merit. And so it won't happen overnight. Long term is what it's all about.
You talk about building a personal brand and a reputation. If I'm a practitioner that's listening to this and maybe I'm getting started, or maybe I want to make improvements to my personal reputation and to my network, what would you recommend for them?
So the first thing I think I would recommend is don't focus on the financial aspects of the success. Focus on your core values, your mission statement, your vision statement, what you want to do. What I wanted to do was practice this type of dentistry, and so much to the point that my first office, when I started it, I lived at home. I had very low overhead, but I wasn't making a big income. And I had all my friends telling me things like, oh, you should go work somewhere else, make some more money, save up, and then start your practice, and you'll lap yourself because you'll have so much more experience and all that stuff. Turned out to be not the case. They struggled to actually start their offices 3, 4, 5 years later. Meanwhile, I was focusing on the type of dentistry I want to do. I was able to set in the processes, figure out how to do this type of dentistry and make it as efficient as possible. I wouldn't say it's fast, but, we want to keep it efficient. And in doing that, the money came later. The financial success comes later. That was never my focus on how much should I charge practicing, tomorrow. I did it for a low fee, built it up, started getting word of mouth, and as I would get busier, I would raise my fee. And it's just growing with your reputation is important, but being willing to invest in yourself. If you're not willing to invest the time and make less to do it in order to get to where you want to be, then why would your patients invest in that? You have to invest in yourself, and that's what I always did, and it's always worked well for me. Sometimes when I do my first case of any particular thing, like my first cosmetic case, I was willing to do it for free or for lab bill or for 50, like little by little, like whatever it took for me to be able to get that experience and consider it like my own CE course, my own education opportunity. Plus, you get the benefit of being transparent with your patient in those situations, telling them, hey, I want to do this cosmetic case. I've never done one, but I will do my best and I'll give it to you for cost. And I think that was really important. And then as I grew, those types of things, disappeared because I had the experience and the practice and repetition.
100%. One of the things that drew my attention was you talked about investing in yourself.
Yeah.
You talk about investing in both your personal growth and for your practice specifically. One of the ways that you've been very vocal in your career about doing it is technology.
Yeah.
You're known as one of the prolific speakers and opinion leaders on tech. How did that happen and what got you interested in tech?
I have to give some credit to, well, first of all, let me say that I've always been tech savvy. I've always been into computers, really proficient with Windows computers, building computers and stuff like that. So naturally, I was incorporating the baseline of like having computers in each office. When I bought my second office, it didn't have computers. It was paper. We scanned right away, switched to practice management software on computers and built, got digital x-rays and all that type of stuff. But I have to give some credit to my business partner, Kyle Stanley, who pushed it one step further and told us, hey, we need to get a 3D printer. And so we had an intraoral scanner that we got for Invisalign. We were able to do very little with it except scan. And when 3D printing got implemented, other things started to spiral. So we got 3D printing, then we did 3D models and smile designs, and all the way up to nowadays, night guards, final restorations, CAD/CAM dentistry. But it's kind of like one thing leads to another. You start with the computers, and then you get the intraoral scanner, and you realize real quick when you have an intraoral scanner, there isn't that much you can do with it if you don't have supplemental technologies like 3D printing, CAD/CAM, and so on. So it just, I guess the hunger to push it further and further and the desire to be able to do better drives that, because I didn't see that value when we were getting the 3D printer, but now looking back, it was one of the best things because it opened up the door of possibilities that we're now doing 10 years later, but we had started this, around 2015.
You've been working with tech for your entire career, and you've been on the front edge of technology your entire career. Where are things at today? We're recording this in the middle of 2024. What are some of the new and emerging technologies for healthcare? And I know AI is a hot button issue, but tell me about some of the things that are happening right now.
So AI is weaving itself into all aspects of dentistry right now, and technologies that I think are really innovating dentistry are things like intraoral scanning, which has become more and more common, and then the applications of it like 3D printing and CAD/CAM dentistry. They're growing in both possibilities and their quality and the outcome. It used to be when you would mill a restoration, you would be sacrificing some of the precision and quality that you could get with like analog or traditional techniques. Now that's out the window. I can mill things that are more quality, better anatomy, better detail. I think the main things that are happening right now are AI being incorporated to make these processes and production more efficient. Because imagine you're trying to make a beautiful crown. You need to know beautiful anatomy, which of course is something dentists need to really know. But when AI's mastering these things to create the crown for you in 2 or 3 minutes, instead of you trying to delegate it to a staff member, having to deal with turnover, and then maybe ultimately you yourself having to do it, AI makes it more likely that we can take the technology of scanning, take the technology of milling or printing, but have the design part done right there in 2-3 minutes. Like you can do instant design proposals, and I would say some of those design proposals will be better than the average dentist's own knowledge, because we don't put time into that. A lot of times we focus on other aspects. You can't do everything. So it's understandable that maybe anatomy and shape and contour of teeth might not be our #1 priority when we're treating patients, especially in high volume offices. So AI is changing that. I think 3D printing is opening up the opportunity. There's more and more ways to do same day restorations, maybe even same appointment. I think by the end of next year, there's a very good chance that a lot of people will be 3D printing their fillings that are super high quality instead of doing fillings, unless it's super, super small. That's awesome, because I think a lot of dentists will agree doing class 2 fillings is one of the least favorite things we do, and it's so hard, really. It's like unproportionally hard for the fee that's charged. So that's a big one. Diagnosis, radiographic diagnosis, even smile design with AI It's so good to be able to create a starting point for your smile design where AI does a lot of the legwork and aligning things, setting the smile frame and all that stuff. It's huge. So I'm seeing it there. I'm seeing it with AI on x-rays. Patients love when they can see the cavities or things highlighted. It builds trust, it builds confidence, and even if they trust you, it just looks cool. It just really looks cool for them to see that you're invested in this high technology that other people don't have.
If somebody is listening to this and they're not familiar with what AI actually is, how would you describe it at like a 30,000 foot level?
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. I was thinking about this the other day. Like the term has become so ubiquitous, and basically, I think of it like automation. You know what I mean? Like it's the ability that something can do these things automatically. So when I think of artificial intelligence in the areas we're talking about, it's using computer knowledge or vision to be able to either diagnose, create, or produce for you. Think of it like an extra employee, a digital employee, or somebody like a digital specialist, you know, to be able to do these different tasks. That applies to a wide range of applications in AI, maybe not every single one, but you know, we have it right now even in writing paragraphs. You know, you have your digital assistant or your automated text, you know, editor and stuff like that. So I think of it like an extra set of hands that is more capable on a lot of areas than I can train somebody at first. And maybe someday more capable than even advanced training. So when we have this AI, we're basically able to leverage our own abilities by having support that can, you know, match our skills.
When people when people hear about this, it can make some people nervous.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard people say that, well, AI is going to replace this, AI is going to replace that. I think the only people that AI is going to replace is the people who are not using AI, right? So it's not meant to replace high quality staff. It's meant to augment in your quality staff. It's meant to help you gain confidence and gain extra skills and gain extra output power as a practitioner, as a staff member, as an administrator, right?
When we need it. Like that's the thing. Like there's a lot of areas, like let's talk about that artificial intelligence to design your crown. I can do it. I can train my staff to do it, but it takes many years for them to get very good at it, and there's turnover. So like, you know, at the end of the day, it's a necessary thing to be able to make this more consistent. Patients benefit from the restoration being designed by somebody better or having a better quality control. When someone new comes into the picture and they have to design, if the dentist isn't there, the occlusion is off, the contacts are open, the patient suffers, or the dentist suffers because they have to reschedule or do it themselves. So I think at the end of the day, like you said, it's not going to necessarily replace every job or many jobs, but it's going to give somebody a supervisory role. They're going to look at the AI proposal. They're going to have a good starting point, like a good mentor would have like taught them, and then just be able to just double check and quality control these things. But I think it's just going to shift where the employees put their energy instead of in areas that would take too long to train. And I think this applies a lot for in-office positions, like a lot, because it's hard in our dental offices to find appropriate staffing. And then that leads to outsourcing things. And when you outsource things, efficiencies reduce, costs go up. So I think it's an important thing. People complain about the costs for healthcare and all that stuff. So how can we do that if every single thing has to be outsourced, take a couple weeks and extra time, you know, like it's necessary for the field to evolve, really.
What would be your advice to any of your colleagues, you know, dentists and fellow doctors in plastic surgery, in optometry, practice managers, everybody in the healthcare space that has trepidations about accepting and implementing technologies of any kind, whether it's AI, whether it's you know, clinical, whatever. What would be your advice to anybody who has trepidations around implementing tech?
Think about it more holistically from the big picture. If you can free up your time doing things that you can delegate, you can put your time into things that can't be delegated. Building relationships, you know, like if I can have my staff spend more time talking to the patient during the appointment and telling them about the process while the restoration is being designed or milled, it opens up more valuable things, you know, personal communication, one-on-one interaction, spending the time to explain the treatment plan because you've saved all the time on writing the emails and other things, or the confirmations can be done by the system so that your staff can spend more time like talking about the details of the treatment. So I think it's not so much about things being replaced, but shifting the priority. You let something else do that so that you can continue, like the Kaizen approach I mentioned, you can continue to make things even better. So now that AI can do this, this, and this, I can spend more time talking to my patient, asking them, how was your day? Remembering the little details about their family. These things matter. Like patients really appreciate when they feel like your office or they're part of your family. You know, like they want to feel like I know them. And I remember this perfectly well when I first got my office. Patients would talk so much about this one front office manager, and they said it felt like she was part of my family, you know, and we've been trying to recreate that. And it was it was a practice builder that was there. And unfortunately, when I started, she was retiring, so I didn't get to experience it. But there's still patients 10 years later that talk about, oh, she was the best. She always knew like everything about me, and she would ask about things. And patients really value that type of stuff. But in today's, you know, I lost my words. In today's day and age, it's hard to find the time to do that when you have to deal with whether it's insurance confirmations or sending insurance verifications and confirmations for appointments, or writing emails is one of the hardest things for our staff to do. You know, it takes a lot of time, proofread it, make sure it looks professional. All those things eat up your time, so you can't spend the time on the things that patients really actually comment on. I don't get them commenting on, I love how well you wrote your email, but we get them saying, I love how friendly that person is, or she's the best. You know, those are the things that matter.
I love your focus on the things that matter.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to you, what's next for you in your practice?
You know, I think what's next for us is just to continue what we're doing. So I'm always trying to invest in this technology. I'm trying to become more and more efficient. One of the things I would like to do is scale to be a little bit more of a business that's not reliant on me, and all these things are helping that. So like right now, when it comes to the dentistry, that's me. But I keep telling my staff day in and day out that like anything that I can delegate to you guys, I want to train, and anything that we can delegate to AI or that it can help us with, I want to do, because there's only so many hours in a day for me. I do want to build my brand up so that we can have more patients served, because there's only one of me and I'm pretty much at capacity. So I've already done little things like I've trained my assistant how to use AI night guard design and how to modify it. And she does great night guards, so she can make and produce my night guards. I used to have to check every single one, and now we're consistently, like I trained an expert on it, and she has a helping hand with AI, but she's really, really good at it now. So keep doing more of that stuff, and hopefully get some associates and give them a good opportunity to do high quality dentistry in this setting. That's my goal, but it's limited by space at the moment, not technology. I need to create a little bit more space, and then the opportunity is right there. So I think in the next couple of years, growing and kind of having a brand that allows for other opportunities for other people and freeing up a little bit more of my time is going to be really important just for my overall well-being too. Because, you know, dentists, we work so hard. Working 40 plus hours a week is not sustainable in this field for most people. There's all sorts of topics about mental health benefits of taking more time off, and burnout and anxiety and stress in dentistry. So I think a good practice amount for me would be 3 to 4 days instead of doing 5+ days a week. And I'm trying to use everything I've done over the past 10 years, consider it my investment phase, my growth phase, and I'm trying to now transition to the area where I can have that balance.
There's several things you mentioned that I want to touch on.
Sure.
First one is that balance in work and burnout. It is one of the defining topics of this day and age for practitioners.
Of course, yeah.
What was your journey with that? How'd you find that balance?
Well, I think I have a natural ability to handle stress, okay? Like you can see the grays on me, and so I have the stress. If you ask me, I would say I'm not stressed, but then when I think about it every now and then, I find myself taking a deep breath and stuff. I think I just do well under stress, but that's not to be mistaken with I don't have stress. And so I'm trying to appreciate that and understand that better, but it came to light because again, my business partner, Kyle Stanley, he talks and lectures about this concept, and I've seen how much it impacts other dentists. And I personally can say, I know how many different things we have to do between staff and patients and quality. Like we're pulled in so many different directions as small business owners. So the way I found my balance was to focus and commit and minimize outside stresses. That's not for everybody because it means I sacrifice some things that other people are not willing to sacrifice from the beginning, but that's how I handled it. I focused the first 10 years of my career on, call it your residency, your training, but now I have this framework and the system in place to transition. I think you could do it faster now with technology. Maybe the first 3, 4, 5 years of your practice, you consider it like your residency, you put in those long hours, but you build the system that allows you to kind of have things handle themselves. And that's what I'm always working on right now. I need my staff to be able to manage things themselves on things that don't require me so that I can have that balance. And I want to give them that opportunity and that power. But it's definitely challenging. And I think a lot of these tools that I'm using now would have made it faster. We didn't have, text messaging, automatic confirmations. Imagine one employee and me. I would have to, this is the beginning. When I first started, it was one employee and me. She was front desk and assistant. And when we came to confirmations, I'd have to listen to the recordings and talk to her. I wanted to train how to do these things, So just for simple confirmations, I'd have to spend that time. And I had to have a third service for those. I remember this, a separate service to record things. Now we have it built into Weave. We have text message confirmations. Things have gotten easier. You just have to put the time to create the process, and you can do it much faster than I did.
What motivates you?
Motivates me is achievement. I feel proud when I achieve goals. I set these high standards for myself, and not feeling like I can't achieve them. Let me rephrase that. Feeling like I can achieve whatever I put my mind to is the most amazing thing for me. I refuse to fail. If I set my mind to something, I want to see that I can do it. A long time one, just as a small example, was getting in shape and having abs, like literally being, and it's so hard to like actually be at that point. I had to change my diet, I had to do these things, but I kept wanting to give up because it's so hard. I achieved it. Now, unfortunately, with everything going on, currently it's not the case, but it's still my goal to build fitness and health back in again. I don't like just accepting I can't do that. So it was important to me to be healthy and to be fit. So I did that once, but then business and the pandemic and all these other things took away my time. And now I'm trying to build that back in. But I think it really just comes down to achievement makes me happy. I like being driven for that. Everyone has their own thing, but for me to achieve my goals is the best feeling in the world.
So the last thing that I want to ask, you've been in private practice for 14 years. You've achieved a lot. You've built an operation that patients love and that's really respected by your peers. If you look back to when you started, when you first got into private practice, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Good question. I remember when I graduated and I set these practices up and I started my practice up and I started doing this stuff, I figured it'll take me 2-3 years to master this stuff and then float through. Like I'll be able to get to that high level I wanted and be able to coast. And that drove me to do a lot of these things, but I started to realize something that a couple patients told me and I kind of noticed throughout my career, which is it never ends. In dentistry, you don't reach some stage where you're like, oh, I've learned and mastered everything. You're always going to be investing in either making your practice more efficient, making your dentistry better, or something like that. So if you're holding out for this belief that like it'll get better automatically, it won't unless you embrace that concept that continuous improvement is always going to be there. You have to find your way to balance that, desire to be the best or to do the best or to be the most efficient. You have to balance that with the idea that it's just going to get better gradually with time. It took me a few years to realize that, and if I could go back, knowing that at the beginning would make it probably overall better for me right now, because embracing that concept is what's given me a lot of peace in what I do. I'm no longer focused on being the best at something today. I'm more focused on how can I keep improving to do this better, and in all aspects of my life, health, fitness, diet, even mental health and dentistry, my day-to-day skills. If I do it today and it's not where I wanted it to be, I don't get frustrated. I just focus on improving that. So accepting that concept was a very big thing for me, because I did want to basically put in the time, get to the other end, and then just coast through. And when that doesn't happen, that can be disappointing. But the realization for me came when a patient told me, you are a Kaizen. And I'm like, what's the Kaizen? And he's like, read the book, but you're always it's never gonna be good enough. It's never just gonna be where you reach this. You're just gonna have to embrace that little by little you'll continue to improve. You'll do excellent because of that, but you have to embrace that concept. So I Googled it, I read about it, and I think that really shaped the way I look at things now. You know, anything I do, we're doing construction right now, and I want to do a little more construction, but I realized the first time I did construction on the office, had no idea what I was doing. Second time, better. So it's like you put in this time, instead of getting frustrated, you look at it as a learning opportunity and understand that things will get better the more you do something.
Well, that's a perfect note to end on. And any last minute thoughts, last minute message?
Follow, put your heart into everything you do, focus on achieving your goals, and know that it takes time. And if you do all those things and you enjoy the process, you'll always enjoy what you're doing.
Love it. Dr. Matt Nejad, thank you for joining us on the show today. And thank you to each of you for watching and listening along. Until next time, stay happy.
Thank you.